Um, yeah, I like being in the garden, being active with nature. I just think it's really awesome how every single thing in the universe connects.
Hello, my name is Laurie. I am the school garden educator at a small public school in northern Sonoma County, and I'm also the programs director at School Garden Network. I have developed a deep passion for school gardens over the course of many years, starting with when I worked in San Francisco public schools and saw of a growing need for the relationship between youth and their food, how to create food, where it grows, and I knew that the best way to develop a healthy relationship to food is by understanding where it comes from and developing a relationship with that food as a plant. Not only do school gardens teach about food, but they do so much more. And learning about food is enough. And yet, school gardens can build resiliency. You can understand that you are an ecological steward and what that means. And you can integrate into your school curriculum in a way that's more meaningful than anything a textbook could ever tell you. School gardens are typically underserved, underfunded, and misunderstood. And so what we try to do at School Garden Network is help elevate that understanding by talking to administration, talking to people in our community who can help support school gardens, and trying to connect the dots between what it means to a person to have a school garden and then what the reality is of how to support that. I think if you asked anybody, they would say, school gardens are wonderful for youth, of course, but then not really sure how to make that happen for their community. We support schools through funding, through workshops, through resources, connections, and through physical donations of plants and seeds and connecting community members who have resources to those who need it. We find that there's a never-ending need. School gardens continuously grow. They change over the seasons. They change with school districts. They change with new administrators. They change with educators. They change with every class that graduates out of a school system and the parents that support that. It never ages out and it never becomes irrelevant. Especially now, we've come off of a year of kind of the community has left the social system and entered into a much more internal place of healing, and so many people we've witnessed have turned to nature, and so we want to be able to help support youth in understanding what that relationship is. On top of that, we have environmental issues that are happening in which we find a society that's critically underprepared to meet the moment. We haven't really focused on environmental education. We haven't learned about nature's systems in a meaningful way. And so when it comes time to now address them, a lot of our society doesn't even really know what that means. We are hoping to focus our work and center traditional ecological knowledge through reaching out to community members and bringing in knowledge to our organization that doesn't currently exist. We're excited for that growth and stretching in our organization, looking for support to do that. There's a deep interest in recognizing the missing voice of traditional ecological knowledge and traditional resource management. And if we can kind of bring in some of this ancient knowledge that exists in our community to a center stage, both through education and in policy, then I think we're going to be better off. We dedicate a certain amount of our time to advocacy for the role of school gardens in education and health. We really value the relationships that we have built with a variety of coalitions, organizations, and teams around the county. We work with the Healthy Students Initiative which is a look at the whole child and how schools can meet the health needs of the whole child, whether that's physical health or mental, behavioral health, dental health, and the ways that those schools can offer opportunities for meeting those needs. We've done some work here in Healdsburg with a food access mapping project to share with our community of where can you access food that's healthful and free to meet the need of all of our residents. We work with SCO, the Sonoma County Office of Education, to integrate into their scientific education lexicon the use of school gardens so that educators feel more empowered, emboldened, and comfortable accessing the outdoor classroom.
About half of the students don't have access at home to any kind of garden space. A lot of them don't have access to much outdoor space, really. So having this here at school for them, it's huge. It may be, one of the only places they come to regularly where they have that close relationship with a garden environment.
We can't do the work of supporting schools unless we're doing the work of institutionalizing this educational environment. So we advocate at every place that we can, and we're always looking for more places where we should be at the table advocating and show a broader community the depth of opportunity that school gardens offer. And to be quite honest, not everybody sees that. Though most people recognize the value, there is somewhat of a limited vision of what the value really is or what it holds. So trying to really elaborate on that, paint the picture of what it does. I know when I started as a garden teacher, I had heard, oh, a kid is more apt to eat a vegetable if they've grown it. And I was like, yeah, got that, okay, great. But then I actually, over time, saw how fundamentally true it was and how monumental of a shift that can be. Because I had students who, upon meeting them, were like, I do not like vegetables. And so then that's where I was starting from, which is such a absurd thing to think that a human would not like a vegetable. It's just that they have had somehow their experiences have led them down a negative path. So you have to rewrite that. And when you can do that well, and then you see those students in time say, I love this vegetable and I like to prepare it this way and this is how I do it.
For people that don't know, carrots are orange. But not always. They can be purple with a yellow in the middle. They can be white, which I actually prefer the white ones. And they can even be yellow. I've seen one that's blue, which nobody expects.
And maybe they're 7 now, but when they're 35, they're still going to have that knowledge that they like vegetables. And that sounds so simple, but it's so profound because that's preventative medicine. If you can empower them to know internally, I do like them, and I have my own preferences, and that's cool, and I know how to access that, then yeah, you kind of change that kid's life. School gardens lend themselves naturally to conversations around nutrition. And there are so many ways that that can take shape. The terms we like to use at School Garden Network is food literacy as a term to talk about like how do we build relationships to food with youth and how do we heal some of the fractures that exist in how we relate to food. We're trying to kind of rewrite that script and look at like having positive environmental experiences with food, building the culture of enjoyment, and just broaden our experiences and equalize access. Every student, every person ought to have access to nutritious food and nourishing food. And first of all, the students have to want that though. So just kind of showing them that it is possible, shifting our language, just having fun, tasting foods and trying different recipes and making it okay for differences in cultural relationships to food. menus, diets. We really have a lot to fix in our society around our relationship to food, and I think the school gardens are a perfect place to do it. So we're really trying to work with leaders in the food literacy movement and provide opportunities and trainings to help dig into this kind of history of our food, understand its implications on our diet, and also the inequities that come within the food system and how the food system has destabilized our relationship, our cultural relationship to food. Once we understand the food systems, once we kind of know how to access it, once we open ourselves up to the opportunities of there's so many ways to eat healthfully and nourish our bodies, then I think we can start healing this relationship and really having a profoundly wonderful relationship with food. It is kind of a new way of approaching science education, but I think it's the only way we're really going to grow a cohort of people who understand ecology. It's not just about growing a tomato, it's about filling a need, a human need that is not being met in schools right now. We believe that by providing a space where kids can really develop and nourish that relationship to the land, then they will grow up understanding what it means to then be leaders in stewardship and ecology restoration and healers. That is why we do what we do at School Garden Network.